Welcome back to another episode of the DFS Express. I am your host, the Daily Fantasy Sniper, and we're here to talk UFC 230. Our main event is the, for now, still champ Daniel Cormier. I don't say that because of this fight. Taking on the Black Beast, Derek Lewis, the guy who did a Q&A instead of an open workout today, which was, I thought, pretty awesome. Been a little while since I've done one of these videos, one of those things where life just kept getting in the way. Always around on Twitter to talk about fights. Also, I'm a coach over at DFS Army. Make sure and subscribe there. The link is in the description. Use the code SNIPER for 10% off. If you're listening to this after the fact on the Loudmouth MMA network, it's dfsarmy.com. Same thing, use the code word SNIPER when you sign up. Discount there. If you're a big DraftKings FanDuel fantasy draft player, got you covered over there. And big thanks to those who support me on the non-DraftKings side, Loudmouth MMA, who I mentioned, and Newson MMA. Make sure and check those guys out. Guys, I've been away long enough. Let's just dig into some fights. A really interesting card where there is a lot of big underdogs, but quite a few live ones. But I'm not really picking any of them to win. We'll kind of get more to that as we talk about the fights specifically. If you're watching this live, which there are a couple of you right now, go ahead and jump in chat. I'll take questions as we go along. Again, after the fact, I usually do these on Wednesdays when life isn't getting in the way, but Wednesday nights be around on YouTube, Twitter, and these will generally pop up. All right, let's just kick it off. Adam Wojciech, 8,600, taking on Marcos Rogerio de Lima at 7,600. The line on this fight, Wojciech is the favorite at minus 225. Rogerio de Lima plus 185. Wojciech 2-0 in the UFC, not two impressive wins. Arjan Bular couldn't defend Omoplata, which was weird. In his first fight, he defeated Anthony Hamilton. Rogerio de Lima has missed light heavyweight twice in a row. He's making the move up to heavyweight, which could actually help his gas tank, which is notoriously, as of right now, just one round. If you get by the first round with de Lima, he tends to fade really hard, and we've seen that happen to him a couple times. What this fight comes down to for me is that Wojciech shouldn't be a minus 200 favorite to me against anybody in the UFC. He also, if you do like him to win, he doesn't score well on DraftKings, 77 points and 54 in his 2 wins. Not a lot there. Rogerio de Lima, on the other hand, I know he's 2-2 when he wins, 124 and 96. That was Clint Hester and Jeremy Kimball. Losses to OSP and Antigolov, which are 2 legit losses when you look at it. I want to see how they look on the scales. I think Rogerio de Lima might be a little bit smaller, but again, overall, I think he's a higher caliber. He's a little bit older, yes, and the gas tank concerns. But this fight is, by the way, minus 385, I think, to end inside the distance. Definitely a good GPP fight. Have at least some of both sides, but I'm going to be heavier on Marcos Rogerio de Lima. He is one of the few, as of, I think officially he'll be my only underdog pick on this card. A couple live ones we'll talk for DraftKings, but Rogerio de Lima is the only one I'm picking straight up. I think he pressures de Lima, it pressures Wojciech early and does get the early finish. And potentially, if this move up to heavyweight has fixed his gas tank, he could win a decision. Either way, he's also clearly cheap enough at 7,600. Marcos Rogerio de Lima will be my preferred play. Good to be back doing these express and these quick breakdowns. Real quick, guys, I didn't mention it before. I know some of you hate the ads, but if you click that like button, subscribe to this channel, greatly appreciated. That's all I'll say. Let's move to Montel Jackson, 8,300, taking on Brian Kelleher at 7,900. The odds on this fight, Kelleher is the underdog at plus 105. Montel Jackson is at minus 125. I believe this fight actually opened opposite and immediately flipped, where Jackson was the small underdog. And I favor Jackson in this fight. If you've listened to me on other podcasts or on this channel before, I'm not a big believer in Brian Kelleher. He's actually from a town I lived in for a while here on Long Island. So hometown guy in this fight, but I'm not seeing this for him. Montel Jackson came with a lot of hype. I know he got taken down a bunch by Ricky Simone, but Ricky Simone's a relentless grappler. Montel Jackson kept popping back up, defended a bunch of takedowns. Like Simone was 7 of 20, so he still defended 65% of takedowns. Kelleher, I don't think has that kind of wrestling. Definitely has better jits than Simone. I just don't think he'll be able to hold him down if he can even close the distance. I think the bigger problem is Jackson has got a crazy length advantage. I think it's 8 or 9 inches, and he uses it relatively well in the fights. He finishes guys from the regional scene. I like Jackson here to push a decent pace, the other 135ers, keep it at range, and even potentially get a finish. Kelleher was finished by John Lineker 6 months ago. That's generally enough time for a knockout, but you don't know how depleted he is from that. Before that, he was in a war with Henan Barrow, a very depleted Henan Barrow, but he does have that win. And the Stasiak win, that was a 3-round, that was a war. People seem to forget that he was in a war with Damian Stasiak. Before that, he got subbed by Marlon Vera. But been around a while. I think Jackson has all the tools, a prospect they like in this pick 'em fight. I'm going to go towards Jackson. I actually like that I've seen more people on Kelleher. I think people are looking for dogs and they're looking a little too hard. I think Kelleher is going to take in some ownership that should go to Montel Jackson at only 400 more on DraftKings. So Montel Jackson is my pick and preferred play. All right, next up, I almost said Sugar Sean O'Malley. It is Hurricane Shane Burgos, 9,000, taking on Kurt Holobaugh at 7,200. First real big line of the night. No, I guess Wojcik's technically a big line. First over 300 line of the night, minus 310 for Shane Burgos to come back on Kurt Holobaugh, plus 255. Burgos coming off that knockout loss to Calvin Kattar, fight of the night, fight of the year contender. Really good fight. Take one to give one. He was getting actually pieced up by Kattar and kept trying to answer back quickly and kept running into more shots. Eventually got finished. Holobaugh was in a back and forth fight with Raoni Barcelos. Got taken out in the third round in that fight. Landed 102 strikes. This is one of the cases where Burgos should win this fight. I think he's the better striker. I think he's got more power, but Holobaugh has shown toughness. I think he's live here at 7,200. He's shown toughness. Burgos is shown he's hittable. I don't think he moves his head great. There to get hit. Holobaugh, I talked him down against Barcelos. I played a lot of Barcelos. That was a good pick, but even though I had that pick right, I was actually impressed with Holobaugh's performance, his toughness, has a little bit of power in his hands. If he wants to get this fight to the ground, Burgos has shown good takedown defense, but he's the only one who will even look for a takedown. I do think Burgos is live, but the pick is I think Holobaugh is live. The pick is Shane Burgos, but a closer fight than 9,000, 7,200. The problem is we could, even in a close-ish fight, we saw it against in Burgos' win against Andre Fili, Godofredo Pepe. He got 3 knockdowns in this fight. You could see multiple knockdowns. Holobaugh is that tough. This is, in my opinion, a really good GPP fight. Sugar Shane's the pick. Sugar Shane. I keep doing that. Jeez. Hurricane Shane. I miss Sean O'Malley, clearly. Hurricane Shane is the pick on DraftKings preferred play. In GPPs, because it's thin in the range, I'm going to say Holobaugh's my preferred play on DraftKings, just because it is a little bit thin there. Looking at the chat here, Rinaldi and Cannonier are great plays. Yeah, no. But it was followed with a, one of those tongue sticking out faces. I'm going to assume you're being sarcastic. We'll get there. We'll get there real quick. But before that, Groovy Lando Venata 8,900 taking on Matt the Steamroller Frivola at 7,300. Venata is the big favorite, minus 265. Comeback on Frivola at plus 225. This is very similar to the last fight, in where Venata is the better striker. Should win this fight. However, there's a lot of hype on him. In his last 3 fights, he's 0-2-1. He got outstruck by Drakkar Klose. Draw against Desmond Green. Not Desmond Green. Oh, geez. Name's going to totally escape me right now. If anybody in chat has it, throw it at me real quick. Bobby Green. Got it before anybody told me I was stupid in chat. the draw against Bobby Green, the fight that he landed that knee in the first round, almost got a finish. Frivola is to finish up on Venata. It's one of those he gassed out in the Danny Tamer fight. Crazy head kick knockout against John McDessie. In the UFC, he's 1-3-1. Flashy striker. He does have wrestling, which people seem to forget. He's got a Division I wrestling background. He uses it mostly for defense. Frivola marches forward, pressure style. Got knocked out by Marco Polo Reyes. That's kind of what he brings. He's going to do it again here. He's from Long Island, so it'll be a hometown fight for him. One of those where I expect this one to end inside the distance. I'm going to check on that prop real quick while I have you guys here live. It's actually the unders plus 105. Fight doesn't go to decision minus 215, so it's expected to end in a finish. Venata's more likely to get it, just that style that Frivola brings. But again, this is not a fight I'm going to trust in cash games and GPPs. It would you have to play a little bit of Frivola because he's live to the finish and to be in the nuts lineup. I know I've said that back-to-back fights, but these are the two underdogs that I think are going to get in striking wars, and both have a shot. Frivola with that forward pressure and Venata gasses, and Holloway just through his toughness. We've seen Burgos be able to get hit. The last two fights are pretty similar. So same thing, Venata's the pick. Frivola for the range is probably the preferred play. You'll see what guys at the top end I'm really looking to target. If I had to pick between the two in the last two fights, I would say I would probably play Burgos over Venata. And actually probably Holloway over Frivola. I think the last fight is more likely to end inside the distance. I'm more confident that they're going to stand and trade, whereas Venata could, if he's having his way, could keep a little bit of distance. Both good GPP fights. Similar though, Venata is the pick. Go back into chat real quick. Silly Diva. Are you really picking Rinaldi and Cannonier? I thought you were joking. Both will win. We'll wait and see. We can talk about that for sure. We're going to get there in a second, and definitely want to hear your thoughts when we do get there. Lyman Good, 9,500, taking on Ben Killaby Saunders at 6,700. This fight is one that is actually causing me more of a headache than it probably should. I'll explain why in a second. When I get to the line on this fight, Lyman goes up to minus 700 in some books. The comeback on Ben Saunders is plus 500. Prices are obviously all out of whack. It's just, for me, Lyman Good, 9,500. He's 1-1 in the UFC. The win was against Daniel Craig. Or Paul Craig. Daniel Craig is an actor. Rough first night back. And Craig was just 2 fights ago from him. That was back in 2015. He's not been active. We saw him against Elizeo Zaleski dos Santos pretty much fold in the cage. I mean, it went to a decision, but he was mentally broken. Ben Saunders, clearly on the decline. I think he's been finished in 3 of his last 4 fights. And that's really, people are fading Ben Saunders, and I get it. He gives up a lot of points. He was finished by Sergio Moraes last time out, finished by Alan Jaban, finished by Peter Sabata, which is really concerning. And his only win is over Jake Ellenberger. However, at 6,700, if he can close a distance, land some of those knees, he's definitely alive. And he's a smart enough fighter where I think he knows he's not going to want to stand and trade with Lyman Good. Lyman Good should win. Just Saunders is an awkward guy. So this is the 3rd fight in a row where I promise there are some favorites I'm coming up to that I really, really like. I don't think I'm going to have much, if any, of Lyman Good. He needs to outscore Daniel Cormier to be in the nuts lineup. Not sure I see that happening. Can he finish Ben Saunders in the first round? Sure, he could. Even if it drags into the second, that might not be enough to be in the optimal lineup. I think you can play Lyman Good in cash games. And if you want, I think Saunders is a viable punt. I don't think he's my favorite, but I don't think it's the worst idea in the world with some of these high-priced fighters to punt down there with the Lewis or Saunders or a Modafferi. So in play for that reason, but the pick here, I can't go against the minus 700 favorite in Lyman Good, although I am concerned with how dominant he will be at that price. Jumping back over to chat. Lyman Good, lock. Yeah, I get it, MMA KO, but God. Lyman Good at 9,500. Just give me Daniel Cormier, give me David Branch, any of those guys before that. Saunders is at least awkward and has a BJJ game, but I get it at minus 700. The odds value is in your favor there. All right, moving on. Next fight. Julio Arce, 9,200, taking on Shaman Moraes at 7,000. The line on this fight, get your barf bags ready. Julio Arce is a minus 340 favorite. I get he's a great prospect, but making Shaman Moraes a plus 280 underdog seems like a little much here. Moraes coming off that fight against Matt Sales, where he was gassed in the third round, but got the win. Before that, he had a fight against Magomed Sharipov, where he made it to the third round, couldn't keep the grappling away ultimately. Arce, 3-0 in the UFC, wins over submission win over Tamer, not a decision win over Dan Ige, and a knockout win over Pettis. Doesn't score well in any of those. I see a lot of people on Arce betting wise. That line, I have a hard time seeing it. DraftKings wise, he needs to get a finish here. I don't think he's going to be able to get a quick finish with Shaman Moraes. Arce has a very technical stand-up style. He does have some takedowns in his arsenal, but I think this is going to play out on the feet. And I think it's relatively close on the feet. I think Arce is a little better. I like his movement a little more. Moraes is that very technical, that very traditional Muay Thai style where he's going to stand and trade with you. I think Arce can move, circle off, and score in the fight. But for DraftKings, those 3 wins, 80, 66, 70 points at 9,200. Am I expecting him to break that trend and get an early finish here to Shaman Moraes? I have more respect for the game of Shaman Moraes than to get quickly finished by Julio Arce. Arce is the pick here. I think the movement is the factor. I don't think it's a good fight for DraftKings at all. If I had a preferred play, I really don't. I just don't like this fight overall. I think my preferred play in this fight, if you make me pick, is to fade, or if that's not acceptable to you, take a little bit of savings and Shaman Moraes, and maybe he gets a 55-point decision win, and it's enough in a night where a bunch of favorites win. All right, next up. Oh, good. We get to talk about. Oh no, I thought we were up to Jason Knight and Jordan Rinaldi, so we can talk to our boy. No, I don't know if it's in boy. It's 10 Silly Divas, so it could be a guy or a girl. But before that, we have Sijara Eubanks, 9,400, taking on Roxanne Modafferi at 6,800. Sijara is the minus 500 favorite. Roxanne is a plus 400 underdog. These two met on their season of Tough. Sijara won a decision. Relatively, I don't know if I'd call it dominant. I mean, it was a decisive win. It was decisive. It wasn't dominant because she mostly controlled position, but Roxanne was able to sweep a few times, get back up, threaten with a few submissions. What I do like about Roxy is she's a very smart fighter. She's going to watch that, understand, learn, try and get better. What's hard for me, again, the price tag on Sijara at 9,400. She needs a quick finish. Not sure I'm seeing that here. Her win over Lauren Murphy, 84 points. It's decent, mid-80s. She's a black belt as well, I believe. Modafferi, she showed in the last fight, though, Modafferi can roll with her just fine. They're going to stand and trade on the feet. I do think Sijara ultimately is better, more power, younger, more explosive, and be dominant in positions more than Modafferi can. I can't pay 9,400 for Sijara Eubanks. This is another spot where I said there's a lot of live dogs who I'm not picking. Sijara Eubanks is the pick to win, but if Modafferi pulls off a win here, would not surprise me. And this is the place where, to the Ben Saunders, I want to go in cash games, hunting for 20, 30 points in a loss. Take my loss, take a few points, focus on my wins in cash games so I can pay up. Modafferi, definitely my preferred play at 6,800. The pick, though, is 9,400 for Sijara Eubanks. Not going to do that on these next few fights. I feel much more confident about these next few, so you guys can, you won't hear that shtick anymore. I think this whole episode, I think I'm done with the picking here, but better play is the cheaper fighter. Let's move on to Jordan Knight, 80. Jordan Knight. Wow, Jason Knight, 8,800, taking on Jordan Rinaldi at 7,400. Jason Knight is the favorite, minus 260. Comeback on Rinaldi is plus 220. Look, Jason Knight has moved his camp to Team Alpha Male, at least a bunch of it, to work on his grappling. He got his last fight, he got robbed, in my opinion. That was the Amir Armakwani fight. Had a couple knockdowns, landed more damage. I thought he won that fight. Before that, lost to Mowgli Benitez. Before that, lost to Ricardo Lamas. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. We're talking about a guy who's 20-5, has beat Dan Hooker, has beat Chas Skelly. You know, he has good wins. Make it a kind of tough, grimy type of fight, I believe. The issue is that where he struggles is with some of the grappling. We saw Mowgli Benitez take him down. We saw Amir Kwani get some of the better, get some of the better of the ground exchanges. Jordan Rinaldi does have a Von Vlu choke, but he was also out-grappled by Gregor Gillespie. I get it, Gillespie's a beast, and Abel Trujillo. His win is over Alvaro Herrera by Von Vlu choke. Alvaro Herrera, not a good prospect in my opinion. I picked Herrera in that fight. I thought they would stand and trade, and Herrera was cheaper, I believe. I don't rate Jordan Rinaldi that high. I think if they stand and trade, I think Knight's going to have the advantage just in terms of, you know, dirty boxing, some of the clinch positions, always moving forward, better cardio. You know, I think he's going to win a close decision here. Whereas with Jordan Rinaldi, I think his tools of grappling is going to be taken away. I don't think I think Knight's just a little bit better everywhere in this fight. At 8,800, I'm not sure how strong of a play it is. I think it's one of the safer picks. I'm not sure about the massive upside, or if Jason Knight, did it again, has massive upside. Wow. He is the preferred play and my pick. Let's move on to Israel Adesanya, 9,100, taking on Derek Brunson at 7,100. Adesanya, the prospect, is the favorite, minus 335. Derek Brunson, plus 275. Weird to see a guy who, I'm going to say it, who beat Anderson Silva. I don't care what the judges say in that one. Brunson won that fight. Beat such a big underdog here to Adesanya. The problem is Brunson showed not great fight IQ. Knocked out by Robert Whitaker, knocked out by Jacare Souza last time out. He's there to be hit, and that's what Adesanya wants to do. He can hit you. And Brunson, I don't think we'll be able to get this fight to the ground. I do think the line is too wide here. But again, I'm actually relatively confident in Adesanya. I can't trust Brunson to not get in a firefight. I'm a believer in the hype of Israel Adesanya. 14-0, really good win against Brad Tavares. He pieced up Tavares the whole fight. I know Tavares was carrying an injury in, but Brad Tavares is not a guy you usually do that to. So definitely, I think he learned a tough lesson in the Marvin Vettori fight, a lesson just in terms of that was put in that gritty type of fight, got to win. I think Brunson's going to come forward. They're going to stand and trade, and I like Adesanya to use his striking and get a finish. So he will be my pick and preferred play. Jumping back over to the chat, I see Diva has been typing. Knight has so many mics on that chin, and Rinaldi is a great grappler. Coming down to 145 will help too. It will, but it will hurt the gas tank, which I think plays into the hands of Knight as his fight goes longer. Rinaldi's a good grappler. I don't know if I'd call him a great grappler. I just don't know if he's going to be able to hold Knight down. All right, moving on from that and to Carl Roberson, 8,700, taking on Jack Marshman, 7,500. Marshman's the underdog, plus 240. Carl Roberson's the favorite at minus 280. This is one of the fights I feel relatively good about. Marshman, boxer, regional guy, in my opinion. Beat Ryan James, beat Magnus Sennenblad. Not good UFC wins. Losses are to really legit guys, though, Thiago Santos, Antonio Carlos Jr. This is fight somewhere in the middle of them, but he's going to want to stand and trade boxing. And Roberson is a glory kickboxer. We've also seen Roberson get a submission in the UFC, rear naked choke Darren Stewart. overall, I think this to me is boxer versus kickboxer. I also think Roberson has better movement, hits a little harder for all those reasons, and he's a few $100 cheaper, obviously, than all those $9,000 fighters. Roberson is the pick and preferred play at 8,700. I think the next comment that I see here is about the next fight, so I'll actually lead with the comment here. If Branch can get the fight to the ground and keep it there effectively, Cannonier will have him in trouble. Fight mileage is an important factor you don't seem to value. Fight mileage. Wow. Sorry, guys, a little tired. Fight mileage is absolutely something I factor. Jason Knight has shown durability, though. He hasn't shown any kind of decline. So I'm not seeing that there. David Branch, 9,300. Jared Cannonier, 6,900. Cannonier, obviously the big underdog, plus 310. David Branch, minus 370. I totally disagree with the comment I read. Look, David Branch is underrated, probably even by me on occasion. Knocked out Thiago Santos. That was an impressive win. It was. Win against Jacko, some other not great, this is his second stint in the UFC. Had a loss to Luke Rockhold. Cannonier, by the way, is bounced all over the place. I think he was at heavyweight for a little while. He was at light heavyweight, coming down to 185 for this fight. Worry about the gas tank there. I don't think Branch will need to grapple here. I don't think Cannonier is an exceptionally explosive striker. He's competent. Branch is the better striker. Branch is clearly the better grappler. We've seen Cannonier not be able to do anything on the ground. Got blasted by Dominic Reyes, lost to Jan Blachowicz. His UFC win is over Nick Rourke and Cyril Asker and Ion Cutelaba. Cutelaba was a good win. That was a fight where Cannonier weathered the storm, kind of came back and forced that to a decision as Ion faded. I don't think Branch is going to punch himself out here. I think Branch is just a better fighter all around. Branch is the play and my pick, one of my stronger picks in the card, David Branch at 9,300. See if we got any pre-comments here to the co-main event. I'm just not even going to analyze some of this stuff. You know what? Let's go back to it. Somebody saying Jason Knight hasn't showed any kind of decline. His losses are to Ricardo Lamas, Mowgli Benitez, and Makwan Amirkhani, who he won that fight. He got knocked out by Ricardo Lamas. You tell me you're going to put Jordan Rinaldi in there, he's not going to get starched by Ricardo Lamas? Come on, man. If you're going to promise me you're going to play Jordan Rinaldi, go ahead and send me a head-to-head on DraftKings. My name is Cactus Jack 2, just for fun. We'll hang out there. I don't want to get too confrontational. Just we clearly have a disagreement, and I'll definitely be playing David Branch. You can lock in Jordan Rinaldi, and we'll see what's up. Co-main event: Chris Weidman, 8,500, taking on Jacare Souza at 7,700. Weidman minus 190, Souza plus 165. A lot of fight mileage in this fight. This is the fight I've been going back and forth on. We're starting to get some odds value here on Weidman. Minus 190 is a wide number for 8,500. Right now, I'm leaning on the side of Chris Weidman, and it gets stronger the more tape I watch, but Souza obviously is dangerous. Weidman, the better grappler. Souza, the better grappling practitioner. On the feet, I think Weidman's a little better, but both their striking is not great. The worry here for me is in that scenario where they stand instead of grapple, is we've seen Weidman with a questionable chin. Could that pop up here? Absolutely. We saw Kelvin Gastelum wobble him, get him be knocked out multiple times. Jacare clearly has fight-ending power. Knocked out Derek Brunson, which we just talked about. One of those, I just think I'm going to favor the wrestler in this exchange. I don't think Sousa's going to be able to get the fight to the ground where he wants it. I think Weidman will be able to keep it upright in the first round, get the better of the striking exchanges. And where I favor him is Souza is also faded as the fight goes on. Weidman is not going to fade. We've seen him be around in 5-round fights. I just Give me Chris Weidman to outlast Souza to maintain in the first round. Get Jacare tired and either win a decision or eventually he could ground and pound Souza out of there, find his way on top to a gas Souza. If this fight goes to the ground and Souza isn't gassed, Weidman's probably in trouble. But Weidman's the pick here at minus 190, 8,500, and my preferred play. But at 7,700, I won't be on a full fade of Jacare. David Branch is the better striker than Cannonier. Okay, LOL. Dude, okay, just agree to disagree, man. Jared Cannonier, I don't know if you know the guy. The dude is an air traffic controller. Really nice guy. Get it. Nice guy. You're talking about David Branch knocked out Thiago Santos. And you're going to tell me that instead, a guy who is losing decisions to Jan Blachowicz, losing striking exchanges to, he lost to Sean Jordan. You tell me a guy who got knocked out by Sean Jordan is a better striker than a guy who knocked out Thiago Santos. Send me the head-to-head. Absolutely. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll come on and I've eaten crow plenty of times. I just definitely disagree. Main event time. Daniel Cormier, 9,600, taking on Derek the Black Beast Lewis at 6,600. Cormier minus 700, Lewis plus 500. Look, we all know this fight should go. Cormier, better wrestler, injured hand. Lewis just fought a few weeks ago. Title shot, all kinds of damage. He was losing that fight 30-27 before the great comeback. We know Cormier should dominate. He's the preferred play. He's the pick. How am I approaching it in DraftKings? The stack is in play if you want to go that route in cash games because Lewis is so cheap and Cormier is most likely the highest scorer on the card. Tournaments, I'm not fading Cormier because I think there's enough. One or two of those underdog shots I mentioned are going to win. So I think Cormier is likely to end up on the optimal lineup, actually. And Lewis, I'll take a couple shots on in case all favorites win, and you just need the pure salary savings, or maybe he pulls off something crazy and he dethrones Daniel Cormier. It would be insane. I'll be there watching it live, and while it'll probably be bad for my DraftKings team, part of me wants Derek Lewis to win, but analytically, Daniel Cormier obviously is the way better fighter and the pick and preferred play at minus 700. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this episode. Some back and forth with me and 10 Silly Diva, who thank you for watching, commenting. You can disagree, that's fine. Yeah. So those are the plays I have for you. Make sure you are a member of DFS Army, dfsarmy.com. The link is in the description. If you're watching the video, use the code SNIPER for 10% off. MMA, NBA, NFL, all that good stuff. I'm a coach for MMA, soccer, and tennis over there. Loudmouth MMA, Newsom MMA. Check those guys out. Much appreciate all the support. Like this video, subscribe. Hit me up on Twitter at the DFS Sniper with 1S. We'll talk some more fights. Even you over there, Silly Diva. We will chat it up. Enjoy the fights. I'll be tweeting live from the event at MSG. Hope you guys enjoy UFC 230, and we will see you next week.